know you ain't pay for
I'm on
this.
site.
Yeah, so since we're on the music tip, let's do some reading. I found this really great article. What I was reading, I was on the Drake Push-Ups, the song, right? And then I was looking at the credits. I wanted to see the credits, and then I wanted to see the copyright, like who is it rights to, and then obviously it said it was the copyright is Universal, but then the phonographics was OVO, and I was like, that's interesting. What is phonographics? And then I googled like what is music phonographics, and then yeah, I got this great article that speaks about music rights and all of that. Just for some of those people who are interested and who may not know these things, upcoming artists or just anyone generally interested in music law and stuff like that, like myself. So we're going to read the article. Excuse me. And then we're going to talk about it. Okay. All right. So the article is by Groover Blog. So it's pretty much just breaking down like music rights, like how music rights collected, how is it, all of that, which I think is very crucial information to know. So yeah, it reads music rights. How does it work? Okay. I want to make this a bit bigger because I cannot see. Okay. Bit more. Okay, that's much better. All right, let's get into. As the backbone of the music industry, music rights are essential to understand in order to not make mistakes, to know what is being given away, and above all, to know where to collect the royalties they generate. So, what are music rights? All right, let's get into it. There's a quote here. What's your share of the neighboring rights on the recording? Do you have a co-publishing contract for this work? Are you a featured performer or an accomplice? What is it? You know these things. All right. So it starts off to say, if you've ever heard these kinds of questions, you've signed a contract with a label or a publisher, this can be problematic. But it's never too late to finally understand what you've signed. Fortunately, thanks to Groover, you'll be able to better understand rights in the music industry and sign contracts that make sense for your career and your bank account. Okay, so in this article, they're going to outline the difference between publishing rights, phonographic rights, and synchronization rights. Interesting. Okay, so the rights on the musical work itself, those are publishing rights. Okay, we will avoid defining legally what copyright is so that we don't lose everyone in the first paragraph. In the short, copyright is music. Copyright in music is what protects a fixed original work, such as a recording or a scoring, for a period of 70 years, and that's in France, after the death of the last person. So the copyright is pretty much your legal ownership of the work you've made for a certain period of time, after you die, while you're alive, all of that. Okay, and then it's asked, who is affected by copyright? The authors and composers are the first beneficiary of the work. They usually share 50-50, They are the first beneficiary of the work because it is possible that after its creation, the rights of the work may be transferred to a publisher who will be able to commercially exploit and perpetuate the work for a period of time. Interesting. Okay, so obviously the people who make the work, the composers, the producers, the publishers, the composers, the producers, the writers, the performers, those are the ones who get the copyright. So if you did not create the work, you can't really have copyrights to it. But if you use the work and you're able to exploit it for commercial success and able to make money from it, you're able to get sync deals from it, you're able to put it on the radio, you're able to you will, that's basically your publishing. So you're helping the publishing of the work, so you will get publishing. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Okay, and then it goes on to explain. So the public performance rights, which is the DDP, that's when a musical work is broadcast on TV, and then there's the mechanical reproduction rights. That is when the work is reproduced into a CD or streaming or So those are the two forms of copyright that arise, and publishing that arise. So you can get publishing through the public performance of it. So if you go to a mall and what's that store, that shoe store that people say is always playing music, making noise? Is Studio 88, I think Studio 88. So yeah, if you're an artist, you go to Studio 88, them niggas blasting your music, you know that is, part of your performance publishing rights that you're supposed to get. So Studio 88 is supposed to pay someone who's supposed to then pay you for using your music like that. And then obviously there's the mechanical reproduction. So that's the mechanical rights. So when you can record something, you keep the masters, the mechanical rights of it, because it's going to be recorded on your hard drive, your computer. So the first copy of something you record, whether it's a song or a script or a voice or a movie or whatever it is, the first copy of that, that's the mechanical copy, the masters of that. And then when you make other copies of it, then you're reproducing it. So when it goes to streaming and stuff like that, you send it to the streaming, excuse me, you send it to the streaming distributor, and then the distributor makes copies from that master that you sent. So you're supposed to then also get royalties from that. So yeah. And then it goes on to say who is responsible for declaring and managing these rights. That's obviously varies depending on the country you're in. But yeah, okay, let's move on. So number 2 then says the rights on the sounding recording. So those are the phonographic rights. Remember I was talking about phonographic rights. What are those? These are it. Before going anywhere, it is important to specify that the sound recording is also called the master. So on which the work was recorded, you see. So that's the master file, the eerste one. That is the owner of the master, also called the producer, is the one who finances this fixation of the work. Okay. So you may not be the person who, you see, that's why there's a difference between beat makers, producers, engineers. You know what I mean? Because a producer may not necessarily be able to actually do anything on computers and stuff, on DAWs and on free loops and stuff like that. But they're the person who is responsible for like the studio time. They're responsible for getting the work together. They're responsible for putting the work together. They're responsible for getting the artists, booking the specific artist that they want. They're responsible for changing how they want the song to sound. They want this type of sample. So they're actually the producer of that song. And then, there's the beat maker, the person who made the beats. There's the engineer, the person who fixes the vocals, fixes everything. Yeah. And then so sometimes a producer will be all three of that thing. You know what I mean? Like and that's usually how it starts. You'll usually start as like a beat maker. You start making beats, and then you start into engineering, because then you want your beats to sound really good. So you're going to start engineering, and then then you start producing. You're going to start getting your own artists, putting them on your beats, stuff like that, whatever it is. So perhaps. Okay, so they have an example of what the master is. If you're an independent artist and you have recorded and mixed the whole of your next EP on your computer in your room, you are the producer of your music. So you have the rights on the recording that can make money. So that's what it means. Okay, let's carry on. Sorry, guys. I know I'm coughing a lot. It must be really annoying, disturbing. I'm just like recovering from a flu. So yeah. As a producer and master rights holder, it goes without saying that it is necessary to distribute physically or digitally your music in order for your sound recorders to be listened to and to make money. So obviously you can distribute them by yourself, which is through merchandise, CD, stuff like that. There's physical distributions. You can make CDs and vinyls and cassettes. And then there's digital distribution, which is streaming, download, all of that type of stuff. So then the distributor acts as an intermediary between sales outlet. Yeah, we know that something like a Dido or DistroKid, they are an intermediary between your music and getting it out there and collecting the sales for your music. And then there's something what is known as neighboring rights. I'm going to read what that is. As noted above, songwriters and composers have rights in their works and receive royalties for the exploitation of their works. In parallel to copyrights, producers and performers have rights known as neighboring rights on the sound recording because of the financial contribution of the producer and the artist's performance of the musicians. They have received royalties related to the public exploitation of their sound recording. So producers are entitled to neighboring rights, it seems. So yeah. As with copyright, management societies are responsible for collecting and distributing these rights to producers and performers in the following ways. Enumeration, all of that. So yeah, I think that's pretty much. No, there's one more category. Yeah, there's synchronization. Yeah, sync deals. I think that's the last category. Synchronization is the use of pre-existing music as opposed to original music in an audio-visual production. In order for a sync to be possible, the process is set up called a clearer, and it happens as follows. From the point of view of the work, the authors, composers, the publisher negotiate a fee with the music. So this is talking about sync deals, pretty much. So sync deals, anything like if you, like let's say Netflix wants to use K-Kid's song for one of their series that they're releasing as part of the soundtrack, then obviously they're going to pay whoever owns K-Kid's publishing or publishing company, and they're going to give a fee to use the music for that series, and then that would be called a sync deal because they're using existing music for to put in their visual production, and then obviously they then have to clear that, so by clearing it just means they're just getting the permission, and they're getting the permission. And then yeah, so that's pretty much what sync deals are. You guys will definitely go read the rest of the articles so you guys can understand even more in depth what it is. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I just wanted to read you guys. I found it very, very, very interesting, and yeah, just something to know, something you can tell your grandmother next time you see her at the dinner table. But yeah, let's move on.